So one of the things that I really enjoy is taking stuff that's outdated and then trying to come up with a new way to recreate that, redesign that to better fit the current design environment, let's say, right? So as an example, I found these icons online and I thought, why don't I redesign them into these two final results? So this is the final result. I'm going to show you how you can achieve this. We're going to go through a few techniques that I use on this, and yeah, just let's see how this can be done, and also what is the thought process behind this and what are the whys and hows of this process. So as you can see, both of these share the same sizes. So it's consistent with these two before icons. It's maintaining a 75 point constraint, and that's something we kind of do here as well. We also have this basic rectangle, this square in the background that serves as an area outline, basically. So we're going to be working with that as well. And yeah, let's just get started. Let's get started and let's see what we can do about this. So with this chart icon, you can see that we have this main line, how to create something like that. It looks 3D, but I assure you this is purely 2D, no 3D, design whatsoever. This is just an illusion basically. So what I did first, I just took my pen tool by pressing P, and then I clicked on each of these points to basically approximate the shape of the trend line going up. Then what I did was I finished the area like this. So I created this shape, basically the area that is contained these three green vertical bars. So this is what I came up with, right? So I'm then going to duplicate this, and as you can see, this is wider than this. So we're looking at 60. So let's just take these and make sure they both are 60 points wide. So why don't we just type in 60 on both of these, and this is going to shrink them and make them more narrow, right? Let me also check what's this size. So as you can see, we have 60 by 39, this shade underneath the curve. So I'm going to take this, press enter, and then select the bottom two vertices and move it up so that the final result is 39 points tall. I'm at 44, so 5 more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I should have the identical vector shape as in here, right? That is the case, and now we need to do a second thing, which is taking this here, enter, and remove the bottom ones, right? So select, backspace, enter. So we basically have a top curve, then we have the area underneath the curve. I'm then going to remove the fill, remove the stroke, add a fill on the first one, which is gonna be a linear gradient, right? And this linear gradient, let me take this color, copy this color. I'm gonna copy this color, I'm gonna select this and click on the color, gradient, and then paste the color code in here. That's what we get, and in here as well. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna move this a little bit upwards so that it's more subtle, right? So we are basically done with this part of the icon. And now let's do this curve right here. So why don't I take a look at what's the stroke width? That's 5, okay? So we're gonna go for 5. And then also round edges, round starting and end points. So round and round. We're getting there, as you can see. And how to smooth this out? Well, if you take a look at this and then go to this panel over here, you can see that it has 12 in the corner radius. And we're gonna do exactly that. We're gonna select this and then go for 12. Okay, there we go. That's it, right? Now we also need to add the color and the shadows, and the color of the stroke is this color code. So we can simply copy this color code and paste that in here, but you can use your own color, right? You don't have to do this green theme. I'm just replicating this, right? And then also we have drop shadow and inner shadows. So that's the only thing we need to add to completely mimic this line. So inner shadow, let me select this, effects, inner shadow, right? And I am going to change this to white. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna click this drop here that says blend mode and go to overlay. I'm gonna then take a look at what are the specific values in here, and let's see. So we have 1 on the Y, 3 in blur, and 65 opacity. So that's 1, 5 and 65. I might have mixed up these numbers. 1, 3, not 1, 5, 1, 3. Okay. Okay, that's better. And now we also have another inner shadow. So let me just add this. This is going to be inner shadow as well. And this is going to be black coming up from the bottom. So let's go for -1, right? You can see how we are approximating the look of this. It's going to be -1 and 3 and 25. Okay, so that's -1, that's 3, and that's 25. So yeah, that's it. Now we just need to add the shadow. Okay, so let me add the shadow. Again, click on this, effect, drop shadow, and we need to mimic these values. So let's just take a look at what these values are. So it's 0, 12, 5, and then this color code with 90. Let me mimic that. So that's going to be 0, 12, 5, and then this color code with 95 or 90, or what's the value? I forgot. Yeah, that's 90 on the opacity, right? So we're there. And now we need to create an ellipse that's going to basically represent this latest data point, and that's going to be O. So I'm going to press O on my keyboard, click once, and then do 12 and 12 on the width and height. Of course, we need to also have this color copied from here. So fill, I'm going to copy the code. You just need to change the color to whatever you like. And then we also have some effects, right? We also have some effects. We have an inner shadow, and then we have a drop shadow. You might not have guessed this, but actually this circle around this point is a drop shadow, but it has no blur and it has a big spread. So let me add these effects. That's going to be plus. This is going to be, first one's going to be inner shadow. We're going to go for 0, 4, 4, -1. So that's 0, 4, 4, -1. And then there's going to be white and 52% opacity with the overlay. So that's white, 52 and overlay. Okay. And what we're going to do now is replicate the shadow. So again, this color code again, I think we can take this from the fill, copy, effects, then drop shadow with no blur, but with significant spread. Then I'm gonna reduce this to 0, and let's take a look at what the spread is here. That's gonna be 6 and 15% opacity on the color, right? So drop shadow, 6, paste in the color code, and 15. So if we now move this over here, you can see how we have replicated totally the look of this part of the icon. And the next thing we need to do is take this shape, enter, and then select these two middle points and add 12 in corner rounding. The reason why we're doing this is that so that it fits precisely on the curve and we get this beautiful result. And as you can see, we're probably gonna have to reduce the gradient. Yes, that's the case. So in here we have 30%, here we have 100. We're gonna change that to 30%. And yeah, that's what we get now. So this is done, right? We have replicated this part of the icon, and it is now ready for the last part, which is a rectangle. So rectangle R, click once, and we're gonna go for 76 by 76. Right? So we have this square, 76, 76. This one's going to be white. And also there's going to be a rounding. And what's the rounding? 16. So let's use that in our new rectangle, 16. Now we're going to have to play with gradients, colors, and shadows to create an illusion of light, similar to what we have here. So that's going to be actually 3 inner shadows. And these inner shadows, let's start with the bottom one. Or actually at first, let's copy this fill, 6% opacity, and add it here. So you're gonna have to, right? You're gonna get a slight tint towards the green color. And now let me select this rectangle again and start from the bottom when it comes to these inner shadows. So this first shadow, this at the very bottom, is 0, 13, -12, -9. All right, so that's, wonder if I remember this. 0, 13, -12, and -5. Is that right? 13, -12, -5. And the color is going to be this color code, 28% opacity, and we're going to paste that in and 28. Right, so we have created the bottom shadow over here. That's an inner shadow effect. So I definitely do like to use inner shadows because they tend to make your shapes look 3D, as you can see, right? Very simple trick how to make your shape look 3D. Just simply add a subtle inner shadow and done, right? As you can see here, that's very useful. So that's one of the techniques you can remember. Then we get 2 more shadows on the top. I definitely went all out with these shadows. So let's go for 0, 6, 5, 0, and then 55 on white. That's gonna be 0, 6, 5, 54. Is that right? 0, 6, 5, 55. And actually it's gonna be an inner shadow. Okay, 0, 6, 5, 55 and white. So we get this white color at the top. And notice how simply by adding just 2 inner shadows, we have gone from completely flat shape to this, which looks really, really convincingly 3D in my view, I think. Okay, so and the last shadow that's going to be at the very top, that's 0, 1, 2, minus 1. 0, 1, 2, minus 1. Okay, and we're going to get this green color. We paste the code at 5% opacity. 5% opacity. And we're done. That's the square. And we need to now put this on top of the square. So let me select this and press Command Option left bracket to move that into the background. And now let's move this thing over here on top of this square and adjust the position so that it's identical to this, which I think is about right now. And let's see if it's in the center. It is. And yeah, we have the bottom part of the chart done. And now we just need to do these lines, these headlines. Right, so that's going to be 6 and 4. Let me copy the color code. Pen tool, click, hold shift, click, 6 in the stroke width, paste in the color, right? Very, very simple. That's going to be 25 points or 26. And we're going to add this on top of the square over here. Okay, and the distance is going to be 15 from the top, I think, right? 15 and 12, 15 and 12. Brilliant. And now the last thing we need to do, let's just duplicate this, Alt and drag, and then reduce this to how much? 4? Yeah, 4. Reduce the width so that it matches this one, and then the opacity finally, which is going to be 40. And we are done, ladies and gentlemen. This is the final result. As you can see, we have 100% replicated the previous outcome, and that's how you redesign this icon. So now let's see if we can manage this one quicker, if we can do this faster, right? So smoothing lines, a couple of inner shadows, and you got yourself a 3D, semi-3D, claymorphic, skeuomorphic icon. I really like this. I really enjoy this style, and I think it's just nice. I like it. With this, so what I did here, you can evidently see that I simplified a lot. I moved this little point, this arrow to the very left, and also I got rid of the yellow basically, but not really though. If you take a closer look at this shape, you can see that we have a color gradient in combination with this, this color. So it's very subtle, and also the inner shadow on this, or actually, sorry, that's going to be the fill, the radial gradient on this is slightly yellow as well. So I didn't completely get rid of the yellow, but almost. So to get started with this, let me check what are the dimensions of this rectangle, and we're going to recreate that. So 46 by 33, 46 by 33, and we're going to get what? 7 points rounding. Specific 7. And then we get this shape. How do we create this shape? I think I created that by using a polygon tool, then pressing Command E, and then I made sure it is twice as wide as it is tall. So let's go for 16 and 8. And then I think I rotated that in a way that I cannot remember. I think it was like this, maybe. Command E, click on this, and maybe adjust, this specific dimension. So let's go with this. And then let's move that on top of the previous rectangle, and we got ourselves an arrow. Okay, so let me just adjust this. I think this is good enough. Okay, select both of these and union selection, and we got ourselves a single shape that we can now work with in terms of color and so on. So this rectangle in the background, that's also a white rectangle, 76, okay, with 16 points rounding. White fill, okay, it's white. And then this radial gradient, which is, let me copy the color. We're gonna recreate this here. So plus, paste in the color code, click on the color gradient, okay, radial gradient, and now move the origin to right here. I don't know what's the specific position of this. Let's say this. And then let's see what's the opacity. 5. Very subtly. It's almost as if nothing's there. Okay, I'm going to adjust the position of this just a little bit. Yeah, so it's almost not there. I don't even know why I included that, but yeah. Then I'm going to add the shadow that we have here. So that's inner shadow 0, 11, minus 13, minus 6. So that's 0, 11, minus 13, minus 6. And the color code is going to be this one. Let me copy that. You can use any color you'd like, but usually the one that fits this icon contents is best. This with the opacity of how much? With the opacity of 23. Okay. Now the color of this is going to be this color code. So let me paste that in. As I said, you can use your own colors. You can do this however you'd like. And then we also get some shadows again on these on this little bubble. So I am going to go first for the drop shadow. That's 7, 14, 8. So drop shadow 7, 14, and then 8. And we also get a specific color, which is this color code and 30%. So this color code, 30%. That's how you create the shadow. Now let's create the inner shadows. The first one, the one at the more towards the bottom, minus 3, 8, and minus 5. So that's minus 3, minus 8, and minus 5, right? It is going to be 52% opacity and overlay. So that's black, 52, and overlay. And we forgot the blur, which is, let me see again, 8, minus 3, 8, minus 5, okay? Minus 3, 8, minus 5, okay. And we're getting there. So that's how you create the inner shadow number 1. And the inner shadow number 2, let's take a look. That's going to be 2, 9, 3. So that's going to be 2, 2, 9, and then 3. And I believe that this one is 55 and overlay. So white and overlay. Yeah. That's it. That's the precise style. We also need to add these little icons, these little circles, sorry. So that's 6 by 6 and it's 3 points distant. So O, click, and then 6 by 6, a very small circle, and then duplicate that 2 times so you get 3 in total. Group this and go in the fill for black. And then in layer, you're gonna go for overlay. And then you move that on the top of the icon and you get this beautiful color on top of blue color. Okay, I think that works. So move that one more up. So we can now create the second bubble. And I'm gonna copy this. I'm gonna flip it by pressing Shift H. And then what I'm gonna do is I am going to copy the color code from here, or actually just reduce the opacity to 15, remove these effects because the second bubble doesn't have any, right? No effects. And then this radial gradient, let me copy this color code again and go here to specify a new fill, paste in the color code, same thing as before, gradient, and then radial, and it's gonna originate from around here. As you can see, we have achieved the same look, right, of the second bubble. The second bubble has a smaller arrow, so let me just select this by pressing Command and clicking that directly, enter, and then moving that towards the right, this one to the top, so that it's approximately the same size, right? Maybe a little bit more like this. And yeah, that's it. And this also is 42 by 29. So let's see. 42, right? And then 29, completely identical now. And the distance from this is 13 from the top and 9 from the right. So let's see, 13 from the top, 9 from the right. Move it to the background by pressing Command Option left bracket, and we got the group of these bubbles, right? It's completely identical. We have managed to do it. And now the very last thing, we just need to take this and move it on top of this. So Command Option right bracket, and then make sure it's positioned in the center. This approximately 10 from the left, right? Yeah, that's good. And then we're gonna go 11 from the top. And yeah, this is it. We have recreated this new icon from scratch, and that's how you do this in Figma. So I have shown you some new techniques with inner shadows, gradients, and all that stuff, rounding, smoothing. But this is basically just very simple shapes with some effects, working with gradients and shadows. So I think it's actually pretty simple. If you just try it once and get familiar with this workflow, you can recreate your own icons if you want. If you learned something new, if you found this video useful, I would appreciate you leaving a like. Thanks for tuning in, and leave a comment. What would you like me to redesign next? I'm probably gonna resume with some of these icons. Let me show you actually what I found. So I found a whole list of icons like this. So I might take a look at some of these in the upcoming videos. We got some basic icons. So yeah, let's see what I can come up with. So this is my favorite style of icons. Some people might not like it, but I just feel like it's the most engaging and clickable, right? You can also see it's very similar to Mac OS app icons on your dock or if you launch the list of apps. So basically looks as an app, and I do like that. Yeah. So yeah, again, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you